Hello YouTube, DeadBurgerKing here. First off, let me just point out the camera. I know it looks weird. I spent an hour trying to figure out what's going on with it. I think the focus isn't working properly and just some settings in slobs that aren't cooperating with me. So bear with me. I'll try to figure it out before my next stream. Secondly, I know I've been wanting to make more YouTube content and stream more frequently. I love streaming and I miss it so much, but things keep happening that prevent me from doing either. If you've been following me on Facebook and Twitter, you'll know that I was recently hospitalized for pneumonia and I'm still recovering from that. So if you see a lot of jump cuts in this video, either I'm staggering with my words and can't think of what to say next, or I just wound up in a huge coughing fit and I had to cut it out. Also, if you hear me getting out of breath, that's also why. I should probably quit smoking, but Also, I've been getting a lot of requests for my Sora build. Like, a lot of people are questioning, how did I get my Sora built the way he is? And so I decided to make this video to kind of break down everything. And in case, again, you're not following me on Facebook or Twitter, I was able to build an all-purpose Sora that has literally every killer passive in the game except Fairy Killer, because let's be honest, how often are we going to need Fairy Killer, right? I digress. So let me just switch over to layout here and show you guys the Sora build. Alright, so we're going to load up the game here. I should point this out before showing off the Sora build. I am nowhere near a whale. I will spend maybe $6-7 on a bundle if it's worth it, like the Fountain of Lapis here. Fountain of Lapis is always worth it. I have nowhere near enough money to be a whale in this game. Some of you know I actually have a hard time paying off my electric bill most months, so I cannot whale in this game. So any money that's gone in this game have either been like, the $6 or $7 every few months or so, or they have been generous donations from generous viewers on stream to get specific things within the game. So I just want to point that out. I am nowhere near a whale. I just got extremely lucky. Of course, like, you'll see I have the scanner goggles on Sora, which give him like 4... I'm losing where my camera is. 4 killer passives right off the bat. Mind you, when I got those 4 Eileens, it was before the 7-star meta. I had 4 Eileens before the 7-star meta. I was pissed. So a lot of the super TMRs I got before super TMRs were even out. I considered it at the time extremely unlucky, but now that I was able to build Sora, everything came together. I realized just how lucky I was. It's really important to point out that Sora has Odin equipped. Odin has some killer passives on him that compensate for other killer passives that Sora doesn't naturally have. Before I show off his build, I'm actually kind of curious about something. I wanted to go into Giggle Mesh, I call him Giggle Mesh, with just Sora. I'm curious. I'm just curious. Before I show off his build, I need to waste some energy anyways. 306 out of 177. Probably gonna get my ass kicked, but I wanted to do something to show this off here. Before we get into this, notice how Sora buffed himself automatically. These are the stats that Sora has going into battle right off the bat. He's dual wielding and has 11,064 HP. His attack, again, he's dual wielding 2,452 attack, 842 magic, 607 MP, 906 defense, and 879 spirit. And these are all buffs, which I'll go into when I show off his build. But one of the things he does have is opposition. So these stats will slowly, progressively drop as time goes on. but they will not go lower than his current base stats, which is 2046 attack, 529 magic, 563 defense, and 541 spirit. So no matter what, they'll progressively drop over 5 turns. I tend to use them to one-shot, so the opposition really doesn't affect me that much. But if you want to build your Sora similar to mine, but be more longer lasting and not worry about opposition, you could always swap opposition out for something else. Alright, something that I forgot to mention about opposition that I'm just going to randomly splice into the video here is the buffs do degrade over time. Good buffers like CG Nicole will even that out. So the buffs from opposition will be replaced by buffs by like CG Nicole or any other really good powerful buffer. But not only that, it buffs after being revived. So the buffs from opposition reset after being revived. So if Sora goes down in the middle of a battle and you raise him, the opposition will reset and his buffs will go back to max after being revived, which means you don't need to baby him by rebuffing him after raising him like you have to do with any other unit that doesn't have opposition. So that is why opposition is such a useful materia, especially for this build that I was going for. All-purpose Sora, you don't need to buff him if you need to raise him. So just raise him and then focus on healing up your party instead of needing to buff him. It's such a great materia even though it seems redundant. I just wanted to point that out since I forgot to mention that in the main video. So I'm going to just splice you back into the video. I hope you enjoy it. Let's check this out. I'm just kind of curious. Let's see what we can do to Giggle Mesh. And yes, I call him Giggle Mesh. Or Greg, you know. So Sora could take out Giggle Mesh by himself. I wasn't sure if he could do it. But he could totally do it. So there we go. I didn't think he could do it. I thought I was gonna get. Alright, anyways. So let me go over the Sora build that even made Clayek jelly. Clayek, I know if you're watching this, I know you're just jealous that you didn't think of it first. And it's okay. It's okay. I still love you. First off, his resistance is 50 to fire, 30% to ice, lightning, water, winds, earth, 10% to light and dark. And that's from his Keyblade and his Trust Mastery ability from being 7-star. With the build that I have him with, I really wanted him to have pretty much all of these resistances. So you could actually get his attack higher if you're not that concerned about status ailments. As I stated, I kind of wanted him to be a jack of all trades. I wanted him to be well-rounded. I wanted him to be resistant to anything and just be able to take care of anything. If you're not that worried about resistances, you can build up his attack and other stats a lot higher. Let's go into the build here. So with the Kingdom Key, I specifically took it through Item World to build it with Spirit and Magic. A couple of the stats that he was lacking in, because I was able to get another Keyblade, which I did build specifically for attack, but I want to point this out here. His attack is 2046 with this build. I give him Kingdom Key with the attack, does not change. Since his attack was capped, I figured I'd take his second Kingdom Key into Item World and build up stats that, he could still use, which was Spirit and Magic. His defense is higher than his Spirit, so that's why I wanted to focus on his Spirit. I was actually kind of focusing on Magic, but then that Spirit 15% dropped, and I was like, alright, we're gonna go with Spirit and Magic. So that's why his defense, Spirit, and Magic are all kind of evened out a little bit. Hiyamoto. The reason why I went with Hiyamoto is because in my build, I'm going to be having him chain with Phryaevia and Aurora Phryaevia, doing Aurora Storm. So I wanted to give him an ice weapon so he can kind of help chain a little bit and a little bit of a finish. So I Gave him Hiyomoto. I got lucky enough to get Seal Life of Power level 3, so it's got a total of attack 25%. Also, Frozen Law is really good too. So, 25%. And Frozen Law also is adding to the multiple killer passives. Hiyomoto is just a really good choice because it boosts physical damage against beasts, plants, avian, and aquatic monsters. We'll go over the killer passives in a bit. Right now, I just want to focus on his build, and then I'll go over his abilities. So I give him Hiyomoto, so he can chain with both fries. And he has scanning goggles, which gives him an additional plant killer, stone killer, bug killer, and machine killer. I gave him the torn dress because I needed a source of petrify resistance. I can get that attack much higher if you're not worried about petrify resistance, and for its claw for the blind resistance. Again, if you're not that concerned about blind resistance, you can get that a lot higher by using like colorful light. 2110. But he loses that blind resistance. So you could do that, but I am actually genuinely concerned about the blind resistance considering most of his damage is physical. He loses 64 attack for having blind resistance, and personally, I feel like that sacrifice is well worth it. I also gave him Ravenheart for multiple reasons, and I specifically UOC'd a 4th Malphase just for Sora. I know, like, a lot of people would probably be really pissed that I UOC'd for a Super TMR specifically for this Sora build, but I don't care. Ravenheart is great for this build, gives them raw attack and magic stats, defense and spirit, and also attack and magic 20%, MP 10%, dual cast, which is amazing for another reason I'll go over in just a second. Ravenheart also gives him more killer passives, increase physical and magic damage against avian monsters and demons by 25%. And he also has dual cast, which he has native magic abilities. He is now great for clutch kill with magic objectives. So he can dual cast Aeroga, Thunderga, Fireга, Blizzaga, or you just need a backup healer. He's going to have like 800 spirit. He can backup heal using dual cast in Kiraga. He can be a backup healer or get in a clutch kill with magic objective using Ravenheart and his base magic abilities. That covers his gear. Let's go into his materia now. This is where I got extremely lucky. So Twisted Hero boosts attack by 80%, also boosts his defense, magic, and spirit 20% when equipped with a katana. And guess what he's equipped with? This is another great example of me getting extremely lucky. So, boost attack 40% when equipped with a sword, katana, or spear. His keyblade is a sword, and he's equipped with Hiyomoto. Boost physical and magic damage against humans and enable or not to beat. So that is a human killer right there. Next, as I discussed with Gilgamesh, we have opposition equipped on him. Boost own attack, defense, magic, and spirit at the beginning of a battle or after being revived. Boost attack when equipped with a sword, his keyblade is considered a sword, and boost HP and attack when equipped with clothes. Torn dress is clothes. Kind of weird to think about Sora in a dress, but maybe he picked up habits from Cloud, who knows. And the last one is Hexatheon's Revelation. Boost HP, MP, attack, defense, magic, and spirit by 20%, and fire, ice, lightning, water, wind, and earth resistance by 20%, and fill limit burst gauge every turn. This is more towards getting those stats up when battle begins. This isn't necessarily about attack. This is more about defense, magic, and spirit. And also, those elemental resistances are nice. And also, the limit burst gauge fill. If you don't have Hexatheon's Revelations, Adventurer 5 works great. You can build these resistances up using support role abilities. They're not necessarily that important, so you could always just use Adventurer 5 instead. Initially, before Twisted Hero, I had Suzumi's Kimono and Machine Power. This is what I initially had him built as before I got Twisted Hero. because that petrify resistance is really important. Don't forget that he also has some native status ailment protection here. Sleep, silence, and confusion are native abilities. So, if you don't have Twisted Hero, this would be a great alternative. As I stated before, Adventurer 5 would work in place of Hexatheon's Revelation. Those are alternatives that you could use. This is ultimately the build that I used for him. You saw his stat, Fighting Gilgamesh. So now let's go over how many actual killer passives he has. He has Plant Killer, Stone Killer, Bug Killer, Machine Killer, and Dragon Killer from Odin, Undead Killer, which is Reaper Killer, Frozen Law, which boosts damage against beasts, plants, avian, and aquatic monsters. He has Executioner, which has Human Killer or Man-Eater. Also, he has Ravenheart, increase physical and magic damage against avian monsters and demons. As we gone over before, the base killers are Aquatic Killer, Beast Killer, Avian Killer, Bug Killer, Demon Killer, Dragon Killer, Machine Killer, Man-Eater, Plant Killer, Spirit Slayer, which is a fairy killer that Sora does not have, Stone Killer, and Undead Killer. Everyone will likely want to know the math, but they should know that I'm not Howls. I suck at math, but I'll do my best anyways to try to include the math here and point out the percentage here. We got one Aquatic Killer, and the Aquatic Killer was from Frozen Law. All these killers are 25% passives. So the Aquatic Killer on Sora is 25%. We only have one Beast Killer, and that's also from Frozen Law. We have two Avian Killers. One Avian Killer is 25%. We got two for Plant Killer, so that's 25% on Plant Killer. Dragon Killer Plus. That gives us physical and magic damage against dragons 75%. Undead Killer. This is our only Undead Killer. 50%. We're forgetting about Executioner, which is our Human Killer. Increase physical and magic damage against humans 50%. Regular Dragon Killer is physical damage against dragons another 50%. So we got 75% physical and magic damage against dragons, as well as an additional 50% physical damage against dragons. Since this is on Sora, which is more of a physical attacker, we're only going to be counting physical damage. That's 125% physical damage against dragons right there. So let's move on. Machine Killer, increase physical damage against mechanical monsters by 50%. Bug Killer, increase physical damage against insects 50%. Stone Killer, increase physical damage against stone monsters 50%. Plant Killer. This is our second Plant Killer. Increase physical damage against plants by 50%. We already have another 25% from a previous killer passive. So that is 75% killer passive against plants. I completely skipped over Ravenheart. I went straight to Frozen Law, but I forgot Ravenheart is at the very, very bottom here. This is our only demon killer, so that will give us a 25% damage against demons. And this will give us an additional 25% against avian monsters. We will have a total of 50% physical damage against avian monsters. Just to recap, with this build, we are doing 25% against aquatic monsters, 25% against beasts, we're doing 50% against avian monsters, we're doing 50% against bugs, we're doing 25% against demon, we are doing 125% against dragons, we are doing 50% against machine, 50% against human monsters, we are doing 75% against plants, nothing against fairies, 50% against stone, and 50% against undead and reaper monsters. And that is how I built this Sora. If you build them like this, you can do anything with them. I would like to also point out, because I had this idea in my head what I wanted my Sora to be, I did literally pot every stat. If you want to build them like this, you'll probably want to do the same thing. So that was my Sora build. A lot of people have been asking about it, and if you liked it, make sure that you give this video a like, and you can also subscribe and get notified when I post new videos. Also, make sure to come follow me on Twitch. I'll be posting links down here somewhere around. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and keep up to date when I go live or post new videos. Hopefully, I'll be back to streaming soon. I'll keep you guys updated on Facebook and Twitter. You can also join us on Discord. I will be posting all the links in the description below. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again real soon. Take care.